think he warned us about something like 9/11.
Yeah, he did.
You know? Yeah,
Andrews talked about that. Yeah, so do you mind if I talk for a minute about Steve Dak coming out and attacking me as of Thursday?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you told me yesterday that he mentioned me in an article, so I went on his website and read it, and a lot of the stuff he said on there is just false accusations. There's a lot I could get into, but for now, I'll just skip past all of it because I don't know, he does a really good job of getting you to argue over the wrong question. I've seen it so many times. He got me arguing over whether or not Michael Hezarkhani was on the ferry, and that is important, but it doesn't do anything to discredit his missile hypothesis. Anyways, I left a couple of comments on the article that he wrote, and we went back and forth for a little bit. I challenged him with a couple of questions, which he wouldn't answer. I said something like, can you please address this stuff I've said on my YouTube channel? And he just says no, and fires a whole list of questions back at me. And eventually I just kind of gave up and started playing around with him and said, water the piano for it to grow, which means nothing. But, at a certain point you kind of just have to stand back and laugh so you don't get more triggered than you already are. At least that's how it is for me. And then he blocked me from his website, so what am I supposed to do with that?
So you are blocked from his website?
Yeah, it's still, wait, let me go to it right now. Yeah, it gives me this, I don't know how well you can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that through the username that you ended up doing his website, or have you tried to use another username, another email address?
Yeah, I was out earlier today. Sorry, is the camera? Okay, yeah, I was out earlier today, and it worked when I was out, but it doesn't work when I'm here at home, so I don't know.
So somehow he has the IP address to
right.
your home. That's strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I was really curious about him. I wondered at first. I didn't feel like he was as, like when I saw the Concerned Grandpa thing, actually the very first time I saw it, I was like, oh, awesome.
Me too.
Like, yeah, hell no, there's no way that wing's gonna cut,
Mm-hmm.
And then, it was pretty quick for me to realize, well, that's probably just, more BS.
Right.
And then I realized just very recently, because of the stuff going on with Mark, and I recently contacted Richard D. Hall, and even his video was removed shortly and then put back up without his knowledge. And Mark notified him of that. So it all got really strange around the time that Mark got on there, and I've never even seen Mark's YouTube channel, and I've seen yours.
Right.
You're like me. We don't have a whole lot of subscribers. We're just, we're researching because it's the right thing to do, and it's good. And then you see people like Steve Dak that go on and on about being independent and not being part of a group, but then wanting to raise millions of dollars for this test. And then in his videos, you'll notice he always says things like, "Oh, I hired a graphic artist to do this," or "I did this and put this money into that." And
You're right.
He really wants to show off that he's invested this money, and I put money into my film as well. But I mean, it's not something that I'm going around trying to show, and I'm trying to show that I'm independent. Obviously, I'm independent. I don't have a big following. I don't have a truth movement, as obviously neither do you.
Yeah.
And I don't see him going to the location. I don't see him in New York City filming the location. So I think it was pretty strange to even call you or Mark out, because it's not like you guys are on radio shows, out there calling him a liar or anything like that. So it was really Ace Baker-ish of him. Really, it made me want to kind of group him into the Ace Baker Simon Shack, because, he kind of fits that category with his behavior, the way he attacks other researchers, which which doesn't make sense. We should be collaborating. That's what I try to do with all of them.
One of the things that Steve Dak said in one of his presentations with And I think it was actually the radio interview with Sophia Smallstorm back in 2016.
Okay.
He said, "You won't find anyone connected to me." But he did a couple of interviews with Jim Fetzer, and that should be very revealing in and of itself, that he's talking to Jim Fetzer and that Jim is agreeing with everything he says. Or most things he says.
And Jim Fetzer is known for being a controller of information.
Right.
Of controlling people and what it seems, at least, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's weird that you're blocked from the website.
I know.
Yeah, that's scary.
And I also had a run-in with him back in the summer. I'm sure you read about that in the article that he posted. On those Fetzer interviews, I started commenting, and we went back and forth, and then Mark got drawn into it, and it just became this big heated debate. And he finally admitted that I was right about 2 still frames not proving tripod use. And I didn't even know that until yesterday when I read that. I mean, he had all summer to contact me, and all fall. But he didn't, so I don't know.
So that was that long ago when you guys had that conversation?
Yeah, this was before I even considered going public with this stuff. Like, that was kind of what pushed me into going public. It was actually his suggestion. He said, "You should use your real name and face and go public with this evidence." I'm like, yeah, I probably should do that at some point. And now I am, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing I thought about when I first started doing, like, I've been doing films, but I didn't incorporate my research into a lot of my films. I kind of like kept that stuff separate. But like, I mean, what's the point if you're not? I just think that there's too many people out there that hide behind false online handles, fake researchers, and then they attack other researchers, and then they attack the witnesses, which in my opinion, I don't even really refer to them as witnesses. Like, the people that witnessed the airplane are like victims at this point.
I know.
I'm sure you've listened to the Jeffrey Hill phone calls, and there's much more out there. There's a lot out there, and you can, like Jennifer Spell said, you can Google her name, and it's not pretty. It's not nice. So that's part of the reason why I'm doing my film, and plus I've always had a problem with the airplane since I was a kid and saw it happen.
Yeah. So you originally called them holograms, even like when you first saw it?
Well, when I very first saw it, like, obviously the live, nobody really saw like the plane go into the building on the lot, but I think what I saw as a kid live, probably, I think Chopper 5, I might be wrong about that, so maybe don't quote me, but I think it was like one of those shots like Chopper 5. So at that time, right away, I didn't really think much of it. I was with Dad, and we were, we were like damn terrorism, we were patriotic, but it was very shortly, like a few months later, I think it could have been about a year, but about 2002, I was 11 years old, and I saw like the video of a plane melting into the building, and I think I questioned like a teacher.
Wow.
And I was really young, and like they answered my question at first, and I don't even remember what it was, but I think when I really started thinking it was holograms was in 2004. I was about 13 or 14 or something, and I just got access to the internet, and I saw that movie, the film In Plain Sight.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
After I saw In Plain Sight, which I I know that there's like a big dispute between him and Morgan Reynolds and all the planers. It's pretty crazy. And but his really did wake me up to question more of my teachers and more people, which made me lose friends. And I can't really remember what made me think holograms. It could have been the movies, which I feel like the movies played a role in it, because it's like, well, what else could disappear into a building like that? I never believed the video fakery. Never in my life have I ever believed that could. I questioned it. Like Ace Baker, like almost got me. Like he had me promoted a little bit to a coworker one time, like, because I've always been a no-planer, kind of like hologram talk. I'm like, it had to be something, but Yeah, I never really believed that. And
Right.
I work in post-production, so I kind of know. Like, I wouldn't say I know, but I do kind of know that they didn't fake that.
Yeah.
It's not really possible. I've even had that on debate with people where I'm defending it because I just watched the Ace Baker film, right, or Simon Jack film. So now I'm defending it, even though I knew. And so I have people that I work with, and video editors. I do audio, but still, sync is everything. And to sync something like that live,
Right.
yeah. And we'd have videos of the. That's something that Mark pointed out to me. We'd have videos of Shanksville. We'd have more videos of the Pentagon. They'd be able to clear that right up. We'd have more videos of Flight 11. If they faked these, they were so good at putting airplanes into videos, we'd have much more of the other events. But that's not the case. We have the one magic trick that was performed on us on purpose, and the rest of it just a big mystery.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about the videos at the Pentagon where they say there's like 85 videos, but 81 of them were confiscated by the FBI? Do you think there's actually that many out there, or is that just like I don't know, another piece of disinformation?
Like, I never really looked into how many I've seen. I've seen what you're talking about, but I've never looked into how many because, in my opinion, the Pentagon, it's simple. That's the most heavily guarded. It's our Department of Defense. And so there had to be cameras. So that's just the point. I mean, it doesn't even matter how many. There had to be cameras witnessing that plane. At least security cameras, and they didn't give us anything. Mm-hmm. And a frame per second doesn't even make sense. A video should be 30 frames per second. Not a frame per second. That had to have been altered. I don't know why a security camera in 2001 would be moving at a frame per second. You wouldn't be able to stop anything.
Although the plane is visible for like one frame in each of those videos. And then there's the one from the Doubletree Hotel, which is just a blur, so you can't really draw any conclusions from that. And then the Sit-Go video from that gas station. There's like, I don't know how I came across this. I read some article somewhere online. But there's like these two dots that are supposed to be a shadow from the wing or something like that. I think it's maybe the engine. And I don't know what to make of it. I haven't really looked into the videos at the Pentagon as much as I have with the World Trade Center.
So what do you mean two dots? Like, what kind of dots where?
1 sec, let me pull it up. It'll be easier if I pull it up to explain.
Like, are you familiar with the orbs that were present in the sky on New York?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Mark's documented that on his blog back in October.
Right.
Yeah. That was really interesting. I knew there were extra planes flying around, but I didn't know that it was, I didn't know it was in that many videos, and I didn't realize how big of an argument this could become. Like,
I just really kind of put that together too. The same way, like you're saying, like I realized that there were multiple planes at all locations, and there's definitely, in my opinion, something to that. And not only that, but the orb thing is something I found early in Jennifer Spell's video. There's a white object, going across the face of the tower right before the plane impacts, and I thought it wrote it off. But when the explosion, the fireball comes out, it doesn't blow it away. It follows the same trajectory it's been following off to the right. And I really never ever spoke about that, and because I was afraid of ridicule. And I asked Mark about it, and he said he didn't think it was paper, which made me feel so much better because I thought they would do that. And it turns out he had, on his blog, like you said, more pictures of orbs, which just made me feel so much better because I knew that wasn't orb. I've had a UFO experience and seen something similar to that. It's very strange. Yeah, like I've seen orbs, I've seen blue, green, red orbs in Arizona. So my girlfriend, my dad, we've seen that. Wow. So weird. It's really strange. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just something to add. I don't know what it is, but
And actually, something else that I noticed in the Jennifer Spell video, in the full version of it, there's this. It's like the full version is like 15 minutes long, and at about a minute into it, you can see this. Well, she's actually said in her phone call with Jeff Hill that it was Flight 175 flying over Brooklyn and then Manhattan into Jersey City, and then it flew back around and impacted.
Right.
And you can see it in the video at about 57 seconds into the video. There's this black dot that's moving across the screen, and whether or not that is Flight 175, well, if it is, then that would completely refute the official story of the plane taking off from Boston and everything, because according to the radar data and everything, Flight 175 never should have been in that location. So either that's another plane or that is Flight 175, and we've just been lied to all this time. So I don't know really what to make of it. I mean, do you have any suggestions, any ideas?
Well, we've definitely been lied to all this time. And so you're saying at 57 seconds on her full video when after the plane? I see what you're saying.
No, so it's like, go to archive.org/details/Jennifer Spell.
Okay, yeah, I think I found this video actually on my computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're saying she got a shot of the plane before it turned around and banged towards the building. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that is Flight 175 because other witnesses reported the same thing.
Right.
Even I can't remember who it was, but he got a photograph or a couple of photos. No, he was filming on a tripod. One of them, I think Jeffrey Hill spoke with him, and he said his sun was really bright because his son had recognized that the plane was going the wrong way because it normally come up the Hudson, and so he also.
I think that was Scott Myers.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think he was talking about Flight 11 actually.
Was it?
Yeah, he said he was in his they lived in the penthouse suite or something, and he was with his son, who was home because he had a fever or something, and they watched it crash.
Right, but I thought he also reported that he saw Flight 175 go by and then turn around.
Okay.
Maybe not.
It's been a while.
Other eyewitnesses have collaborated that story of Flight 175 turning around, and then banking into the building. I've heard that a couple of times. There's one really dramatic phone call with an old school New Yorker who's going off about it, and he says that, I think.
Yeah, and there are some news reports where the news anchor says we just saw a plane circling the building. And that would explain that as well.
That's right. And yeah, and all those are sketchy. I do to some extent think that the media, played some weird role in this. They're part of the psyop, obviously, because the whole missile theory comes from them, as well as bombs in the building. All of that came from them that day. They spoke about all of that, and it's just been repeated by truthers.
Yeah. And that's, Steve Dak likes to say, oh, you don't want to believe in video fakery because it lets the media off the hook. Well, that's not what we're saying at all. I think we could blame them for billions of things. We're not trying to be pro-mainstream media at all, but it's just try going to the middle of a busy city and faking something like that and see if you can get it to work first try with no mistakes. There's tens of thousands of people that are going to be watching. There's no way you're going to be able to do that without a couple witness statements slipping through the net.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, it's absolutely impossible. How did you come to that conclusion?
Just basic logic. You can't say that a plane crashes into a building in the middle of New York City and then accuse everyone that saw it of lying. It just doesn't make any sense.
That's good. I'm really happy you said that because I worry, that's part of why I'm making my film. I worry that people are going to grow up and my son's going to grow up and be told this lie in school and believe some crazy, that Newton's third law doesn't apply on that day, but always, other than that, it always applies, Just apply except for on 9/11. That's my biggest evidence is the crash physics, the impossible crash physics, and the disappearing wing.
Right.
Because if it was a military airplane with reinforced material that was able to actually penetrate steel, then why did the wing disappear? And why is that consistent? other videos, and why is there no sound impact? That's something I'm doing in my film. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
Yeah, I have looked into the missing wing thing a little bit.
But what about the audio? You know, I'm doing an analysis of the audio. There should be a sound on impact, and even on the close ones, there's not. There's no impact sound.
Like there are on like maybe one or two of them, but like it seems like the audio contradicts itself in multiple videos. Not that that proves that the videos or the audio is fake. It just shows that something weird was going on.
No, you're right. And that's the thing. There is some fakery, especially with NIST and the FOA, the Freedom of Information request. Because I found that. I know that to be true only because I can't find out who the woman is, and maybe you can help me figure this out. Because, you know, the Jesus woman.
Oh, her name is Carol S. Wells.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, her audio has been used in multiple.
Right.
To the plane, and it makes me wonder: is it originally a reaction to the plane, or is it a reaction to the collapse because it's been used for both?
Yeah, I think it was originally a reaction to the plane.
Yeah.
If you go to archive.org, there's like the raw NIST FOIA version on there. I can't remember what it's called.
And they released another one which had her in the background, which is one of the collapse.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't say Jesus effing Christ, but it's her. Oh my God, it's behind you.
Oh, yeah, that one. Okay. Yeah, I've heard that one.
What that does is kind of provide these video fakery people with, you know, more ammunition. Even though I don't hear them talking about those particular ones, it kind of helps because there is the little things like you said. There's some that show a little sound on the impact, but something is strange with it. And I'm very familiar with Foley. I don't know if you know what Foley is, but it's basically taking objects into a studio and making sound with them. And I know for a fact from audio analysis in Pro Tools, which is Avid software, same as Ace Maker uses, but his is video software. I know that in one of the videos they put out, it's a very rare one. It's not really like popular, but it's showing footage from the Pentagon, and it's a news one where it might be part of a documentary, but they throw a piece of the plane like as if she's picked it up. There's music playing, so there's no background noise of the people outside. But when she picks up the plane, all of a sudden background noise comes in, and she tosses this piece of plane down. And cha-ching. It's definitely a sound. I can tell just because of the ambient change, and that's something I'm going to show and try to prove in the video or in my film. But that just helps these video bakery people promote that, because these Freedom of Information have like extra sounds and certain reactions taken from other videos. You know what I mean?
There's something that
okay, they CGI'd the planes, but that's impossible. I don't know why Steve Dak would call Mark a people basher. He's bashing all these eyewitnesses.
I know. It's so absurd to say that, you know, 24 missiles were fired from the roof of the Woolworth building and no one noticed. And they somehow secretly got them all up there. And
is that his theory?
Yeah, I asked him how many missiles he thought were fired at each tower, and he said probably about a dozen. So I don't know how he thinks it's possible for that many missiles to be transported up to such a remote location, and to fire them from the top of the Woolworth building to the South Tower. There's no way on Earth, I'm assuming the missile is traveling in a straight line, there's no way it will be able to create the plane-shaped hole from that location.
Yeah. So do you have, like, what's your position on what happened?
With the plane-shaped holes?
Yeah.
Let's see, I typed something up earlier, let me find it. Just as a general guideline. Of course, my general assumption is always directed energy, of course, because that's already been proven that the towers were turned to dust by some form of directed energy. But the magnetometer data is particularly interesting and revealing. There's a spike at, it dips down. At like 8:20 it begins, the Earth's magnetic field begins to dip down until 8:46, and then it reverses until 9:03, and then levels out again.
Exactly.
So there's that. And plus, I really can't think of anything else that could have caused the plane-shaped holes. So I know it couldn't have been missiles. There's too many people watching for that to be possible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad that you're basing it off of evidence, because my theory, there's evidence here with, I do believe that holograms were used, and I think there's plenty of evidence that holograms are way more advanced than we know. The book that I'm using right now is from 1971, which is called Optical Holography, and this book references early 1960s classified military documents that are still classified today, and even in this 1971 book, they have a clear outline. They know what they're doing. They have it pretty much down to a science. Wow. And the funny thing is that year is the same year that, the public was shown the first hologram, and that it became, even a thing, which is strange because this book is way beyond. It proves even more what Dr. Judy Wood, Andrew Johnson, and I'm trying to talk about,
right,
with G.D. Hall as well. It proves what we're trying to talk about is the fact that just because you people cannot see this mechanism or see this device, or just because you don't know about it or it's not documented, does not mean it's taking place. Like this stuff is happening, because this book really shows that. I mean, how could 1971 be the first form of a hologram? But this book has everything. They know how to erase them. They know what will cause fading, which I have a pretty strong theory on why the wings disappeared. Actually, let's just get into that, because of what you said about the magnetometer data. In the book that I'm reading, it says that fading can be caused by either high temperature or an applied magnetic field. So if something was being applied, the interference, as Dr. Judy Wood has pretty much proven, in my opinion, she has proven that.
Right.
A lot of people don't want to accept that because they don't want to just accept her book, but really it takes more than that. Read her book a couple of times and then go do some real research on Tesla and free energy and some real long-term research, which was something I was into before I found her, is Tesla technology, and it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
But there's your evidence. So my opinion is that that's why the wing disappeared, because the interference was taking place at that building, and something was happening with the Earth's magnetic field, and when the plane came into contact with it, it caused that little weird fading of the wing, which is pretty clear. I mean, it's in broad terms in this book. Fading and erasability will be caused by high heat or temperature. It says fading, undesirable effect, and I'm sure it is, because I've noticed it since I was a kid, that the wing disappears.
Yeah. I've always wondered if that was something that only the cameras picked up, or if you were watching it just with your bare eye, if you would have seen the wing disappear as well.
Yeah,
what
I
I've
always
noticed,
no one can answer it.
Yeah. I've always noticed that in like the higher quality shots, like in Carmen Taylor's picture, the wing is like, that right wing, it's supposed to look like it's in the sunlight, but in lower quality shots like the Chris Hopewell / Tina Cart one, the wing just vanishes for a couple of frames. So I don't know if that has something to do with it or not, but
yeah, it does. That one, the one you're talking about, it's really clear. Yeah, it's and it looks like what I said, like it's coming into contact with something in the air there. It, for lack, not to promote like video fakery, but like the chroma key idea. It, thinking about, blocking something out. When that wing, it looks like there is something blocking it out, but it's clearly just the air.
Yeah.
What's going on,
Mm-hmm.
And, lasers are something that, lasers are what is used to form a hologram. You use a laser and you split the beam into two, it's reconstructed, and mirrors are used, and I'm sure you're aware that they put out some articles in the early 90s talking about holograms for psychological warfare.
Is it the when seeing and hearing isn't believing?
There's that one, and that one I think is based off of Air Force 2025.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, Air Force 2025. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, the when seeing is and hearing is believing, which I see classic disinformation in. I think it's Loose Change. It may be where I don't know if it's that film. It may be Loose Change, but they refer to that article, but they only refer to the voice morphing.
Yeah. Same thing with David Ray Griffin.
And neither one of them want to point out the holograms, which convinced me even more that that's what it is, and made me start really researching. And what do you know? It turns out holography is a form of directed energy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, lasers. It's all this big, and then the whole. I don't know if you're familiar with some of the research of the occult aspects, but there is some big occult science fiction hidden symbolism aspects and numerology that ties into it. But people don't like to look at it because they consider, like coincidence theory.
Right.
But when it comes to it, the science fiction is part of the psyop that's helping us to not believe in holograms or not believe in directed energy particle beams or Tesla death rays, and all these things that clearly space-based weapons. I find it pretty telling that Stephen E. Jones likes to call us space beamers.
Mm-hmm.
They like to use a little bit of truth as ridicule.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So yeah, there's a weird tie up there with the sci-fi community.
Yeah. What you were saying earlier about the seeing and hearing isn't believing, whenever they quote that article in Loose Change, they only talk about the voice morphing. Yeah, David Ray Griffin does the exact same thing. This Debunking, 9/11 Debunking, this was like the first book I ever read on 9/11, and I fell for it hook, line, and sinker because, I wanted something other than the official story. And at that point, I was a no-planer, and I had rejected video fakery for the most part. Maybe not entirely. But I remember reading his chapter, whatever it is in here, where he says that all the phone calls from Flight 93 were faked or whatever. And he quotes that seeing and hearing isn't believing article. And I remember looking that up online and saying, why did you focus only on the voice morphing part and not the holographic aspect of it? And I didn't think much of it at the time. I do now because he's disinformation. But yeah.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I didn't think much of it at all at the time. And what made me, I suddenly, I remember that somebody showed me that. I know that somebody did talk about that article and holograms. Somebody, and I cannot remember where I found that, but it was a while ago, and I kind of forgot about it. But then I found it again and remembered it, and I pointed it out to Andrew Johnson and asked him, "Hey, are you familiar with this article?" And he was like, "Yeah, they spoke about that in Loose Change." And I was like, "Oh, that's right." So I went and watched Loose Change. I was expecting them to talk about, the holography part of it. And yeah, it was only the voice morphing, and that's when I kind of, I see. And it's strange to me because I was still curious at that time if it could have been holograms or what, and I was kind of getting into some of the Ace Baker, Science Shack stuff. But they really didn't convince me, briefly, but not really, because it just seemed so impossible. Same reason, logic, New York City, and Jeffrey Hill's phone calls do a good job of proving to me that there was.
Sorry, can you say that again? The last part of your audio cut out there.
I was saying that Jeffrey Hill's phone calls do a great job of proving to me that there was a plan.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting to listen to his phone calls with Jennifer Spell and how he completely changes his mind by the end of those. It's just fascinating.
He actually believes the official story now.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy because for some, and I think Fetzer and possibly whoever else was talking to him at that time made that happen, because they didn't want him going towards, in Mark's opinion, and now that I've listened to these interviews, they didn't want him going towards the hologram theory.
Right.
They wanted him to talk about video fakery, and he wasn't having it with those phone calls, and you could tell by the phone calls he was really passionate about it.
Yeah.
Passionate about it.
So do you think that he was like a legitimate, innocent, genuine researcher at first, and then he somehow or other got pulled into the disinformation side of things?
I think he was a genuine guy, but I think he immediately was kind of pulled into the disinfo, because in some of those you can tell he's almost like upset. Like one of them, it seems like he just got done watching Ace Baker's Pinocchio's nose, because he talked to the guy and he was polite to him, and the guy called him back, and the guy called him back. He's like, here's the deal, all the videos are fake. What you shot was fake. And it's
Is it the Kai Simonson phone call?
Exactly. And
okay.
And so my thing is, yeah, he was a genuine guy, just like I think Dylan Avery was a very genuine guy. And but he had Alex Jones come and be the executive producer on his film, you know, which I don't know who reached out to who. But yeah, as far as Jeff Hill goes, I do. And I think because he realized that these people were not part of a conspiracy, they were not lying, he felt so bad, and he realized there were planes at all the locations, You know, a lot of people will accept that there was no plane at the Pentagon, but they were at the World Trade Center. But he realized there were planes. The description of them is identical of how they hit, the Pentagon building. And so he realized, I mean, he unfortunately went back to believing the official story. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if somebody made that happen or what.
Yeah, apparently he got arrested for drunk driving in 2010, and then after that, he turned to the dark side of things, apparently. That's what Mark told me, at least. Yeah,
it might not even be him that believes the official story, but the pumpitout.com website is back up and running.
Yes.
Here's why I believe the official story, which is so weird to me.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, very strange.
And have you listened to his phone call with Devin Clark?
I'm not sure if I've listened to... I'm going through them right now. I haven't...
Okay.
Sure
there was something that I found pretty interesting that Devin said. He like, I can't remember his exact words, it's been a while since I listened to it, but he said like, what I shot was real, and I don't know, maybe the plane could have been a hologram. So he was someone that saw it live and is,
cool.
Basically admitting that we could be right.
I might reach out to him. Thank you for that, Devin Clark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? I might try to get a hold of him if you are able to find any more information on him. Let me know.
Yeah, I actually, let me just send this to you before I forget. It's been a while since I, gosh, where'd it go? At some point, some time ago, I started putting together a list of like phone numbers and addresses for some of the videographers. I have Brian Gately, Michael Hezarkhani, Chris Hopewell, Robert Clark, and that's all I have.
Yeah, if you want to send me some, I'll send you back some stuff
okay.
as well. Just here.
There we go. Where's whoops.
And Devin Clark, so he said, and Jennifer Spell said that too. It's funny because in the conversation it seems like Jeff said it, but it wasn't Jeff. I listened to it a couple of times. I don't know if you noticed that, but Jennifer Spell said hologram as well.
Really?
Yeah, because like he's not really promoting video fakery. He's kind of like, he's like you said, he's like changing his mind slowly because of her sincerity, and obviously, she's not lying in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think she's lying. I don't know how great I am at judging people, but it doesn't seem like she's lying. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when he's talking to her, he might have talked about the videos being, he says, as he usually does, that, people online say the videos are fake, and she's just, going on and on about how she wishes she never shot it, and she goes, I don't know, if it's a hologram, then...
Oh, yeah, I remember that now.
Wow, yeah, she goes, I know technology is getting there, but like, wow, because, she heard it, saw it, a lot of people felt it. So, yeah, they have that ability. And one of my big fears is that they're going to do it again.
I know.
And it's going to be bigger. Like, another false flag. Like, holograms, people are like, okay, yeah, so what? Like, if they did, like, who cares? Like, what's important is who did it and how they killed them. people, and that's very important. I want justice for the jumpers, man. I hate to see, like, you know, the guy that thought he was going to work but ended up leaping to his death.
Right.
But at the same time, if we see some kind of false flag UFO attack, that, you know, if our government tells us, hey, you know, we're being invaded, we don't know if that's true or not, because there's all these crazy looking aircraft flying around like that. It sounds crazy, but that's legitimate. Like, that's gonna be scary.
No, I completely understand. Maybe it's paranoia sometimes, but I don't know. They have.
Have you heard of Project Bluebeam?
Yeah, I have. I really haven't looked into it though. I've just heard it mentioned a couple of times.
Same here. I never really looked into it, and I heard it mentioned. I think that's part of what made me 9/11 holograms, because somebody showed me a document that said that military has very high tech holograms that have the use of sound and everything, and they're fully convincing that they're going to use it for a fake alien attack. But, you know, I didn't focus on that. I really, when I heard that story, I thought of 9/11, and that explains the planes to me. Yeah.
Have you heard of the book Holographic Visions: A History of New Science by Sean?
No, right, you asked me. I haven't checked it out, no.
Okay, yeah, that was something I just found it online somehow, and, you know, I've never read it. I just wanted to know what you thought of it.
Is it, do you know what it's supposed to be about?
I think it's the history behind how holograms were developed or something like that.
Oh, I am interested. I thought maybe it was one of those books about, you know, we live in a hologram world. I see a lot of that. When I'm researching, it seems like it's trying to distract me with that kind of stuff, you know, like the world is a hologram.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey and stuff.
Absolute proof we live in a simulated reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's getting ridiculous. It's getting really stupid.
Yeah. Or people saying that the World Trade Centers were themselves holograms. That video might have just been a joke, but I can't
some
tell.
of that stuff is bad. That's another reason I'm doing this. Some of that is theories, like Simon Shaq saying everything's fake.
Right.
So people say that, you know, the long arm people and the fake jumpers, people claim the jumpers are fake. There's nobody died on 9/11 videos. Like, I can't stand that shit.
Yeah.
Because it's horrible.
Yeah. Where do they even get that stuff from? Like, they say they're not listed in the Social Security Death Index, and other than that, like, I guess they got 10,000 actors to play their family members or something.
Yeah, and who splatted on the ground that day, you
Right.
know? I mean, there's pictures of that, footage of that as well. You know, it does some digging to find it, and it's not pretty when you find it, but there's some stuff out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really stupid argument
Yeah.
for anything that was showed to. You know, that's something you should look into. A researcher named Carl James. He wrote a book. That name's familiar, and he's kind of suppressed. So he has a blog called the Truth Seeker's Guide. Familiar with that?
Truth Seeker's Guide?
Yeah, and he wrote a book called Science Fiction and the Hidden Global Agenda. And yeah, he talks about some of that stuff. It's pretty crazy. What he talks about how you know, and other people, I think even mainstream, I think in one case tried to explain away the magnetometer data or some other weird data with our collective consciousness, because more people on planet Earth saw 9/11 than any other event in history, and that's supposed to be a true fact. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but like more people supposedly saw that other event, and so it created some weird collective consciousness during the time of the event. And supposedly could have had an effect on the magnetic field of the Earth. I don't buy that for a second, obviously, but I do buy the collective consciousness type of thing. I at least buy that the sickos behind 9/11 believe in it, because yeah, it's really weird if you look into like the psyop of the 1938 War of the Worlds with the fake.
Oh yeah.
Thing. Yeah, that was kind of funded and sponsored by the Rockefellers, and that's who built the World Trade Center, and that's part of the family that runs the energy industry in this country. And so it's really, really evil and weird, but if you think about the collective consciousness thing, the media ran that whole time with no commercials. They cut off a lot of people because they didn't want too much panic. They wanted you to just listen to them. Just listen to us while we speak and tell you what's happening throughout the whole time. They kept cutting people off, like, that were freaking out when they were fired and explosions and things.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a psyop. It's definitely energy and consciousness are the two most important things from 9/11 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Going back to the alleged audio discrepancies that we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
there's this quote in Where Did the Towers Go on page 304 by, I have no idea how to pronounce this last name, David Handshoe or something. He says, and then this noise filled the air that sounded like a high-pressure gas line had been ruptured, and it seemed to come from all over, not from any one direction. And everybody's looking around like, what's that? And then all of a sudden the south tower explodes, or the second tower explodes. So you have that as well. He didn't hear anything except like an omnidirectional hiss.
Yeah, I remember reading that. That really stood out to me.
Yeah.
That's crazy that you pointed that out. I really remember that one because he said it seemed to come from everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And he said the same thing about
that.
Sorry, what?
Oh, sorry. There's video evidence of that as well.
Really?
Yeah, like there's
which
one.
video is it?
She's right under the tower. I think it's like a female it's a cameraman, and it's roaring, dude. It's roaring from everywhere. It doesn't sound like a demolition or bombs. It sounds like a monster in Manhattan. It's just yeah.
Do you know who filmed the video? I have all of them sitting out in front of me right here.
Let me see. It's the one. It's one of the dust cloud ones. It goes black. And he's running, basically he has like a shoulder strap and he throws his camera over his shoulder so he's filming behind him as he's running from the dust cloud. And one lady, there's like a big woman who should have got help but she got pushed out the way. And there's an ambulance right there and somebody tries to It's a pretty intense video. It took me some, let's see.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that. Or maybe I haven't, just don't remember.
See, I might have a name for you to type in. Give me just 1 second here.
Okay.
But I mean, it doesn't really prove that the sound was coming from everywhere. But that sound, dude, it's roaring, and it definitely like clipped the microphone. You could tell it was distorting it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It was loud, and it wasn't bombs. There's nothing bombs about that. It sounded like a monster.
Yeah.
What other people I think describe, not only in her book, but there's some. Okay, so. Here it is. Actually, close software.
Okay. That link I sent you is a link to this website on one of the videographers, Chris Hopewell.
Okay.
There's some information about him and about the 475 Kent Avenue building.
Oh, okay.
If you find that helpful in any way, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, anything you want to send that you think would be relevant to the research. I'm not really trying to prove no planes. I think the video maker will have to prove out to keep planes.
Sorry, can you say that again? The audio was
I was saying
weird.
that anything that you want to send me is great. Anything you think is relevant. I'm not trying to prove that there were no planes because I think that's been proven. I think that the video fakery needs to be debunked a little bit, so
Yeah.
maybe that would help. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
Sorry, just finding let me find this.
Yeah, no problem. One of the things that I found sort of revealing about Simon Shack in September Clues is he shows at the beginning of one of the I think it's like part F or something, his opening title screen shows a picture of New York City from the day of 9/11, and it's like a satellite photo, and it turns out to be one of the pictures that's used in Google Earth. If you go back in time, there's actually a picture that was taken probably around 5 or so. And I found that kind of interesting that he knew enough about Google Earth to be able to go back in time and find that picture, but he didn't use Google Earth to find the location of any of the videos, which he says are all fake anyways. So it's just an interesting double standard.
Yeah,
that,
interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, well, we know that he's purposely withheld information in regards to the North Tower dust cloud
right.
being photoshopped or whatever as plain old. Yeah, he's, in my opinion, pretty stupid. That's how I feel about Simon Dak.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Steve Dak, I wasn't really thinking that it's clear to me that he's too smooth too. He bothers me, he's rude. And yeah, I think Simon Dak is just, Steve Dak basically says that Mark Conlon is people bashing because he rebuttals some of these video fakery obvious issues. Some of them have already been proven wrong and they get rehashed, and then Mark Conlon goes and says, hey dude, we've already showed you this is wrong. He pointed out to Steve that certain things he said were wrong. He corrects them, but then he attacks you guys, and it's crazy to me that he would call someone else a people basher when you're using, over 50 videographers
right.
You're seeing that are just everyday people like you. You're not acting like a concerned grandpa.
I know.
So, yeah, not at all. And so it makes me kind of just I'm going to start people bashing these truthers because it's not right what they've done to these witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not right, especially if they're part of a psyop, which I suspect Ace Baker in particular has been hired by some pretty high up people, and I've been trying to get a hold of him. I really want to speak to him on the phone.
Yeah, I think I found his phone number at some point. I don't know if you already have it or not.
No, I don't, but please send that to me if you can, because I will be calling him. I want to know who hired him. I'm sure he won't tell me, but I want to know.
Yeah, I'm just gonna type this in from this other screen. I don't know if this is accurate or not. I found it I don't know, from some people searching website. I can't remember where it's from. So it might not be anything, but
No worries.
it's better than just typing in random numbers. Okay. His address ends in 911. That is okay.
That was funny you pointed that out in your video about the 9 or 11 Ace Baker. Yeah, I don't even know what is he doing here. It's so weird.
Yeah, it was with his 9 characteristics that he says are necessary to composite videos on live TV, and then he changes 2 of them after a couple of months, and they're kind of vague in the first place, so I don't really know what to make of them. But there are 4 things he completely ignores, and that's the size of the plane changing, the shape of the plane changing, agreement between the videos, and 6 of the live shots. I don't know if that's a characteristic, but 6 of the live shots he doesn't even include in that. Although in 2000...
Agreement in the videos?
What?
What did you say, agreement with the videos?
Oh, agreement between the videos. The live shots, they all corroborate each other. There's nothing that really, in one that contradicts anything in another.
Yeah, they all bank, they all hit it at a slant, and they all kind of sync up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really, when I started putting that together, I didn't even think to look at things like that, and eventually I realized, there's, plane rotation that's visible if you stabilize, if you zoom in onto the plane and stabilize it from there. So
yeah,
and 7 out of the 8 live shots show some sort of plane motion, and the only one that doesn't, you only see part of the wing and tail for about half a second, and who is actually going to be watching that, or who's gonna notice that on live TV? So
yeah, exactly, especially in an event like that.
Mm-hmm. And even if you can prove that a certain shot is fake, you have to prove that they're all fake and not just one.
Yeah.
The burden of proof is on whoever is saying these things are faked, because, there's so much evidence, witness statements, videos, photos, The lack of evidence to the contrary. No one has really reported not seeing a plane. Well, maybe some people have, but they're extremely rare.
Yeah.
I know Andrew Johnson has spoken to several, or at least one. He talked about that in a presentation he did on the Conscious Consumer Network, like last February, I think. Is that what it's called? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That sounds right. Yeah, he's actually put together. He does a great job at documenting stuff, and if it wasn't for him, a lot of this information would be gone. It does get suppressed and deleted.
Yeah.
And he has like I don't know if you've seen. He has like over 500 witnesses documented.
Right.
Some saw a plane, didn't see the plane, heard a plane, but didn't see it, or saw it, didn't hear it. And yeah, I've gone through most of that. I'm still going through it and documenting it. It's hard to go through it and then also like film it and document it and get it
into a presentable format that people are actually going to watch, instead of just like an endless list of names and statements. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is that just the like 503 testimonies of like firefighters or something?
There's that, and then he's got like a whole lot of airplane witnesses, and yeah, he's got quite a bit. Some stuff is hard to find on his website from different archives. You have to actually personally email him.
Yeah.
And he says that on his website. He's really cool about it.
Yeah.
I'm looking for. Yeah, I'm not really sure what the name of that is. I'm afraid if I open up my video editing software to find it, that everything else will crash because it's got like 6 things running on the laptop right now. But I'll definitely send you the link for it.
Okay.
As soon as I find it. It's one of the. You may be able to just do a little digging. It's just one of the dust cloud videos. That's pretty hardcore, dude.
Okay.
It's pretty it's dramatic, man. Like that shit always gets me a little emotional when I watch some of those.
Yeah.
So dust cloud ones, it's crazy.
What's the video called? I'll just add it to my watch later.
I'm not sure because there's a South Tower dust cloud video, but this one they capture like 5 seconds of the tower dustifying. It's crazy. Give me a moment. I'll just launch it and see what happens. If we crash, I'll just call back.
Okay.
That way I can give you the actual title of where I found it. Because some of the stuff I get off of HD Vids. You ever heard of HD Vids?
Yeah.
.me, I think, yeah. Get some stuff there because you can get like 720p downloads.
Okay.
Yeah, and you don't have to like use any converter or anything. It'll just download.
Yeah. Most of the time when I download things off of YouTube, I just replace the https://www. I just replace that with the SS, and then it takes you to like nsave from .net or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's pretty helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't really think about that. Yeah, I try to stay away from like the YouTube stuff too, but sometimes you got to do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Hi, buddy. Say hi. Hi. Cool. Puzzle. Puzzle. Alright, I got this software pulled up now. Let's see. Just take it. slow now.
Okay. Yeah, your video's getting choppy. I can still.
Is it?
Yeah, I can still hear you fine though.
Cool. Yeah. So here, while I look, do you want to tell me like a little bit more of like some of the points of why you don't, like pretty much why you know it's impossible to fake those videos?
Yeah.
Like some of the points that some of these video fakery people like will put out.
Mm-hmm. So I made this chart. I'll send it to you afterwards in case you want to use it.
Cool.
I used parts of it for my series that I did on YouTube. I don't know how well you can see that. I added a couple more lines. But Ace says that, well, first of all, he doesn't even include all of the characteristics that would be relevant, like size and shape of the plane changing. That was really the biggest thing that showed me that these videos were real. Because unless you think it was filmed beforehand, there is really no way that could be. You really can't do that live, at least not as far as I'm aware. Now some of the other points he changes. And out of the ones that remain, most of them don't even apply. He says the first characteristic is very brief appearance and disappearance of the plane, and that means 1.5 seconds or less. But let's see. 4 of the 8 videos have the plane visible in them for a lot longer than that, and especially the New York one shot that gives us like a full 26 seconds of the plane at once. So
that's right.
Yeah. His second point is high contrast between sky and tower edge. I don't know why he thinks that this applies to all of them, like the NBC Chopper 4 footage. That one, the towers appear to be like behind, there's, what am I trying to say? The camera is up in a position high enough so that the towers are in front of the water, not the sky. So the contrast between the towers and the water is, it's generally sort of the same.
Right. Well, are you familiar with the, I can't remember who made the claim, but it does look compelling, and I never looked into it, but there's one where they say they've removed the backdrop.
Oh yeah, that's the WNBC Dub 1056, whatever that means. That's the NIST file. Oh yeah, that one was filmed from the like Rockefeller Center or something like that, and the perspective is sort of the same as Chopper 4's perspective, except Chopper 4 is a lot higher, so that's why it appears that the backdrop has been erased in the Dub 1056 version. And
but it's just the sky, basically.
Yeah. One sec, I'm working on this 3D model, sort of like what Richard D. Hall did back in 2012.
Cool, yeah, I thought about doing that, but I have a whole lot of other video and audio stuff to do.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering if how long it would take to do that. That's cool you're doing that.
Yeah. There's a lot of tools on Google Earth I didn't know were there, and at first I decided, or I thought I was going to use SketchUp, which is what Richard used, but then when I started plotting out all of the video locations on Google Earth, then I realized I could add in the towers and the path of Flight 175, and it just ended up being a lot easier through Google Earth. So, okay.
And didn't he determine the speed through there as well? Because
yeah, it was like 583 miles an hour, roughly.
Right. I heard a recent argument recently. I think even one of the Jeff Hill conversations. Guy talks about the reason that it's so fake is because 30 frame per second videos will that the plane was moving too fast, so they had to slow all the videos down, which is what made it look like it didn't deaccelerate when it went to the building. And that shit boggled my mind because it doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
kind of like makes you like, wait, what? Like, is that really possible? Like, it sounds really stupid, but like it maybe a point I should just try to disprove. And I thought that, Richard D. Hall did the math of how, from the video evidence, right?
And have you heard of the YouTube user, I don't know how to pronounce his name, it's like Akim Spock or something like that?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well back in 2009 he did another 3D analysis with not quite as many videos, but he discovered that I think it was like 3 seconds before impact that Flight 175 reached a speed of 624 miles an hour.
Really?
Yeah. Which, that's way over the maximum possible limit.
Yeah, way over.
Yeah.
I mean, they were already like 120 knots over with the official speed, I think, right?
Something like that. Wait, what's the VMO? 360?
I forget the exact number. I remember an interview with John Lear.
Yeah, the VMO is 360 knots,
right.
And then the VD is 420, which is 483 miles an hour. So
yeah.
Anyways, I kind of got off track of what I was saying about Chopper 4 and that other shot.
Yeah, that's right.
So it would help if I could just show you my screen, but
I'm not even sure how to do that.
Yeah, I'm using 2 different computers too, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess let's just skip that for now. I don't know what else to do. Yeah. Oh well. Okay.
Well, I can pull up the Chopper 4 video.
Okay.
Well, I was looking for that YouTube user. That sounds interesting. I've never.
Yeah, he's been out there for quite a while. Have you ever heard of Matt Nelson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I mentioned him in some of my other videos. Yeah, he was kind of the reason why I started doing a lot of this stuff, even though he still believes in controlled demolition and like he believes that the actual Flights 11 and 175 were used for both towers, but they were like hijacked by remote control, and they still have the passengers in them and everything. He takes that position.
Which I just can't buy that one.
Yeah,
I heard that. I probably from his YouTube. I remember that, and I could have like listened to it, open-mindedly, like I usually do, and I just don't buy that, man. The way that plane goes into that building, I don't buy it. I think it should have exploded. I think people should be luggage. I think the wing should have broken. I think we should have saw that in the video. I don't think it's an excuse for why we didn't see that in the video.
Yeah.
Except for these planes were not real planes. Something else.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, Matt Nelson. I think I'm subscribed to him. Yeah, he gets quite a few views on some of these videos, and I think it's because, like you said, the controlled demolition stuff is in there, so people like to share it. But then you can see where he's got some truthful stuff with like 600 views. That's been up for a while because you basically have to eat the chicken and spit out the bones.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about the Steve Dak thing earlier? I don't know if you finished up.
Yeah.
He blocked you, but like, what is your opinion on like what on the article? Like, what do you think?
I think he's just using me as another excuse to rehash the same old things about missiles and removed bolts, but I don't really see any other reason why he would have put this out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it made me really wonder because, like I said, you're not going on radio shows. You just asked him a question.
Yeah.
Like a genuine researcher. So why would he make this article? He entitled it on one of his Facebook groups. He posted it under "I took the bait."
Yeah, like, I saw that. Yeah, I thought he was legitimate until I started asking him some questions and seeing what he was really trying to say. You know, just like you, I originally, when I saw his crash test video last year, no, 2 years ago, you know, I originally thought, oh, it's such a great idea, we should all support this, and then he puts forward all of these other lies, and it's like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, the removed bolts had me wondering, and he like shows it in his video real fast with his hired graphic artist. And he's real fast about making his points and moving on to the other one so that you don't have time to think about it. I've seen that commonly in your Simon Shack.
Yeah.
All people do that. And
I mean, that's
not only that, but sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's in September clues all over the place. Like if you just take the time to stop and listen to what he's saying, like there's parts with the, he says when the live witnesses of the second impact are like called into the news stations, and he says like 17 seconds before there was this like random audio blip or glitch or something. Most of those, I think all of them except one, he tampered with the audio somehow.
Really?
Yeah.
He did? Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know what part you're talking about. That's interesting.
Yeah, at some point I want to go through September clues point for point, and I've put together some stuff, but...
Yeah, I think it's important to expose that and loose change as well, because loose change woke a lot of people up, but it steered them in a really wrong direction.
Right.
I bet a lot of those people that first woke up to 9/11 from the Loose Change movie are now like Alex Jones followers.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about... Wait.
I sent you that NIST video I was telling you about.
Yeah, I saw the link pop up and then it went away. How do I...
It might not have been a link. I think it was just the name of the video.
Oh, there we go. They're there.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll copy that.
Yeah, that's I do have that email address. So if that phone number was attached to that email address, then that must be him.
Okay.
And he does live in Sherman Oaks, California, because I live in Woodland Hills, California, and it's like 15 minutes. The Invisible Hand Studios that his wife and him worked at is like right down the street from my house.
Really?
I'm in Texas right now, but visiting family. But I know he lived in Sherman Oaks, and I know that he worked out there. So that's probably his phone number. Cool.
Huh.
I'm a little nervous to like call him because I really trying to like,
Yeah.
like who hired this guy? Because he's so like, all right, like the key, like just.
I know.
And he convinced me with I don't know, the Great American Psy-Opera, when he's like interviewing Dr. Judy Wood, and he's talking about the destruction, and you know, he goes to Purdue and
Talks to, what's his name, Professor Sozin.
yeah, exactly. And that might be a different section, I'm not really sure, but when he was like interviewing Dr. Judy Wood and Professor Stephen E. Jones and stuff, I thought he was like a genuine dude. And I thought the way that video was put together was like the greatest documentary I ever seen. Like I was really like, oh my god, this is so good. And then I realized like it's way too good. Like how did he get these animations? That stuff's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really way too good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I started realizing.
Has Mark sent you this like compilation of films that Ace Baker helped produce in like the years before 9/11?
We were just thinking about that because that company was only around from 1999 to 2002 or something.
Okay.
So they were only around before and after 9/11, and all those films. Yeah, he sent me like a picture of like 3 or 4 or 5 films.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, it turns out that company, all their films before 9/11, during the year 2001 and after, were like these propaganda films with keywords like terrorism, the plane, like bombs, nuclear, all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here it's active stealth. I have the list in front of me. There's active stealth, submerged, Mach 2, air rage, and critical mass.
Right.
And those all somehow or other relate to military, airplanes, Air Force, airplane disaster, hostages, hijacking, airplanes, war. Yeah.
Yeah. 9/11 basically.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really strange. I found some other films too put out around the same time by another, because those are like low budget films. They have Ice-T in them, and people would say, oh well, yeah, those are crappy films. But in the entertainment business, people like me, even I'm not really so into it anymore because I'm more into this kind of research and stuff.
Yeah.
Truth and whatnot, but like to some extent I work on independent short films, and there's actually a big niche for that. Like a lot of people are into that stuff, so those films were watched. I can guarantee it by a lot of people. People that work on big Hollywood films actually like to go to local theaters in West Hollywood and watch like cheap indie films like that, like with Ice-T and stuff. So those are put out, I think, for like common everyday people to just kind of get used to and get sensitized to the event before it took place.
Yeah.
It seemed to work, so that's crazy too.
Yeah. It's kind of scary when you realize how much predictive programming there is out there. That was kind of what pulled me into looking into 9/11 in the first place. Was
really?
Yeah, predictive programming. My brother showed me this picture that I really couldn't think of any other explanation, and then I looked up, I don't know, just 9/11 conspiracy or something online, and then now I'm here. So.
What picture did he show you?
It was from some cartoon.
Like The Simpsons prediction?
I don't think it was The Simpsons. Let me look it up.
It's everywhere. They definitely prepared people like my age for it, because all through the 90s, every video game and cartoon, it's everywhere. It's an X-Men, it's Spider-Man, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really. I'm gonna be talking about that because a little bit, but not in a way that you probably see most people on YouTube, because it really is. It really is some weird. Like what me and Mark were talking about. I don't know if you're familiar with we should probably just this part until the film comes out, just between us. But like,
okay.
The whole Gelatin story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Gelatin art students and whatnot. Well, dichromated gelatin is a recording material for holography.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so when you look at gelatin, it's like, okay, yeah, it points you in the direction of explosives and explosives being planted in the building. And so it uses that to explain how the plane-shaped hole was created by these, Jewish Zionist, Israeli, gelatin art students. But it only explains it for the North Tower. You can't explain it away for the South Tower because they were staying on different floors.
Yeah.
And impact zone. So what that does, though, is keep the idea of explosives. But for the really intellectual people, at least in my opinion, because they believe in this weird sort of alchemy, in my opinion, I think there's proof of it. I'm going to try to document it as proof. It seems proof to me that these people are sickos, and they think that that they are manufacturing consent by giving us these little cryptic clues like the gelatin thing, and the predictive programming that you're talking about is like this weird manufactured consent, that it's okay if they get consent from us, which we're not really giving them, but they're manufacturing it in a way. And you can do more research behind that. It's a big weird thing, but I think that's what all that is that you're talking about, the predictive program. And that made me a lot more interested in it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found the picture. It's from Johnny Bravo. There's in the reflection that was the one that my brother showed me, and then from that point I just started looking into it, and then eventually came across Richard D. Hall's ball analysis from 2010, and that led me into discovering Dr. Judy Wood's information, and it just grew from there. So everything that just by the way, and even for the part 2 that we do, if you want to schedule a part 2, everything that we talk about, it doesn't matter if you can't show me on your screen, because as long as you just say it, then when I go back and edit it, I'll pull in the video over our face
faces or whatever, or you don't want your face in here, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so
At least not at this point, because I haven't been doing this for that long.
I'll probably like distort your voice or whatever if you want.
No,
or,
it's okay. Yeah,
okay.
I have my voice just like this.
Over your, like a silhouette. Make it look like some cool like BBC.
Okay, I have these lights next to me. If I turn them off, how does that look?
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways.
Cool.
Okay, I pulled up that video that you were telling me about earlier, the dust cloud one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you've never seen that, there's a really good video of the. I'd say download it or just slow it down. And man, well, first if you want to get the audio, watch it normal speed. But when you, for the video, slow it down, you can really just see that tower just. It's crazy. I can't even still describe it.
Yeah.
It is in bombs, that's for sure. I say if these people have such a problem putting a name on it, call it the Tesla death ray, because that's what it is. They stole his technology a long time ago.
Yeah.
Clearly that's what happened, and they've weaponized it.
Definitely.
And that's like the biggest problem. That's why Andrew Johnson does this and other people do it. Because the biggest thing is like this energy cover up. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It could be used for good.
Yeah. Like before, when I still believed in controlled demolition and everything, and bowed down to Richard Gage and Steve Jones and all those people, like, there was really no implication of that. Okay, the towers were exploded to smithereens. Okay, what are you going to do about it? Just demand a new investigation over and over? That you're not going to get anywhere with that. Like, finally looking into this completely flipped my worldview on it, inside out and upside down. It really opened up a whole, I don't know. It expanded my world so much.
Make it in a positive way for sure. You should look at it in a positive way for sure, because like you said, they weren't doing anything. They were talking and making a bunch of videos. I felt the same way. I was making a film when I read Andrew Johnson's book, and it was about shit I didn't even know about. What the fuck is nanothermite? So I'm just, I'm making a film, and I was trying to connect up the missing flight of the Malaysian flight 370.
Oh yeah.
To that, because there's a weird thing with the Carlyle group and Blackwater and the Rothschild family. There's a weird kind of connection there with that missing plane. But once again, it's another missing plane, in my opinion, of passengers that disappeared and planes that disappeared and hadn't been explained. But like you said, dude, those dudes aren't doing anything. All they do is blame Bush.
Yeah.
And blame the government, but those people that they blame got raises, they got more money, and it's been 16 years, and we're still in Afghanistan. I used to ask my teachers when I was a kid, why are we in Afghanistan? And it was either 9/11 or oil. That was always the answer, and neither one of those answers made sense until I read Dr. Wood's book. Like, now that makes sense to me, why we're still in Afghanistan. Because it's a weird energy cover-up, and then like the poppy seed and opium has a lot to do with it. But clearly, like, this isn't just our government, it's much beyond our government. It's a lot higher.
Yeah.
But people have a problem with her that she says she doesn't think our government did it, or does she not, because it's not a matter of belief. It's
that was probably the best opening statement
that
I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is. And like her whole section on the airplanes is a good section too. She didn't want to get into it, but she made it pretty clear, like, hey, yeah. Which made me feel better, because I, for a long time, just like went back to accepting that there were airplanes, just so I could be part of the truth movement. I guess, I don't know, to be accepted. So I was just like, all right, well, I guess there must have been planes, because there's no way they fucking faked it. I've always been like, there's no way they faked it. So for a long time, I went away from the no plane, and I just didn't talk about it. I guess I accepted it. I don't really know. I just didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
But after reading her book, it made me realize what was important to me with that whole event was, why was I questioning my reality at 11 years old? And still to this day, the more you learn about the cover up too that Andrew Johnson's documented, you're like, what? It's weird.
I know.
Weird.
It's
right?
kind of a little, I don't know, in a way, sort of scary and depressing at the same time. When I look back at like last year, I remember this day last year reading through Andrew Johnson's book, and now today I'm doing this and I'm being attacked by Steve Dak, And, I don't know, it's just that
Yeah.
weird feeling of I just wish I could go back to when life was so much easier.
Yeah,
I didn't
it's
have
weird.
to have this cloud hanging over my head all the time.
And you don't have to, and you also don't have to get too much into it to where you have to do like a fake suicide on Fetzer's.
Oh, yeah.
Just to get out of the 9/11 research. Like, I wish people wouldn't think like that. I wish people would be more humble and just say, you know what, I've been wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm done with this. But it's important. It's a really important subject. So I don't think we should feel any negativity from it. I think you should think the silver lining that Dr. G pointed out is that this is a technology that can be used for good.
Right.
Good. And, we really shouldn't have all this stuff hidden from us.
Yeah.
The whole hologram, if it's a hologram, in my opinion, there's no if about it. There's some kind of weird psychological thing happened to everybody that day. They try to strip us of our common sense.
Right.
They try to make us think things that are just impossible. And then to back it up, they gave us, they gave us this shitty impossible story so that, some of us would attach onto this other bombs in the building story and Bush did his story, when in reality there's just some evil, sick people at the very top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of before I really, believed, accepted anything that Dr. Judy would put forward. I kind of would just blame the government whenever anything went wrong, and now I'm like, I don't know who did it, it's just the world is just screwed up. And if we could just get this free energy technology out in the public domain, things might be a little bit better.
Yeah, part of the problem with that, I don't know, are you familiar with Mark Passio?
No.
Mark Passio talks about the dark side of Tesla's technology, and he's actually one of the only truthers that has shouted out Dr. Judy Wood and recommended her book and stands by her that Tesla's technology was used to destroy the towers. He does like natural law and occult.
I think,
He's like a Satanist, he has a ponytail.
It's ringing...
Andrew Johnson's written about him because he did promote Dr. Judy Wood's book.
Okay.
But he's like, he gets sponsored by the Tesla Foundation. On his website is whatonearthishappening.com. And basically he showed like, I kind of forgot where I was going with that, what we were talking about.
Yeah.
But he supported her, and he shows like some of this Tesla stuff, and he kind of says like what you were talking about, the free energy coming out, like to the public, but he kind of talks about how like mentally we don't really understand what that means, like free energy, because we can't have free energy in this current society of taxation.
Right.
That he's right. I tend to agree with him. Like, as long as the world's being controlled by the Federal Reserve and the military-industrial complex and the scientific elite,
right,
that Eisenhower told us about, that's like, in my opinion, who did it. These companies like SAIC, ARA, Booz Allen Hamilton, Lockheed Martin, all these big corporations. And it's so clearly, you can walk up to an everyday person and say, hey, what do you think about Booz Allen Hamilton? Oh, isn't that the guy that Snowden worked for that spies on us? It's like, oh yeah, well fuck them, excuse my language, but it's like, it's pretty obvious that these people are sick, they're evil, and they're running the world. We're sitting by letting it happen.
Yeah.
So he talks about how like we need to change that if we're ever going to get this free energy.
Yeah.
Right, but you're right, dude. Like, your energy is
Yeah, and I liked what you were saying in that video you did a couple days ago, where people keep saying that we're never going to get anywhere with this, and like, the powers that be are just going to crush us. And that may be true to some degree, but if we keep working at this, it might not produce fruit for another 150 years, but hopefully it will eventually, be accepted as fact.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're talking about the Save Local Media thing I did, Save Local News.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
That the other day and just threw it up because it seemed like an important topic.
Mm-hmm.
I try to make it funny too.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
And like that's my whole thing. That's why I do this. I guess I'm kind of naive in a way, but I do think that, like you said, maybe 150 years, maybe my kids, but
right,
one day, like before they break the earth in half and crack it in two and destroy us all, maybe maybe one day we can get this. I do like free energy research, like nonstop before I start making this film because it's important. It's real. It's there. It's here. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you're interested in all that, man.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, that's good.
So let's see. What else is there that we were planning on talking about?
Well, let me see. Well, I'll put together some more notes if you want to schedule a part 2.
Okay.
Later in the week, in a couple days, or whenever you're not busy.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, because I did have some notes, but I think they're on the phone. I don't know where it is right now. Because I was trying to put everything on paper, just add a little extra backup rather than just notes on the computer.
Okay.
But yeah, with the Steve Dak article, and then Mark like started emailing me, and so I got what I was doing, which was like documenting some of your work on your YouTube channel and some of the stupid discrepancies with the locations. That's such a stupid argument to me.
I know.
Like some of the people saying that they stretched some of the videos and changed it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah,
make
you've done
sense.
a good job putting your videos together. So.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing it to some degree. Sometimes it's not fun, but most of the time it's pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that you're doing some productive stuff. Yeah. Some people are just sitting there on Facebook and reading bullshit and looking for likes and comments. So, that's cool. Yeah.
Now, did you do that Luma key on that one live shot, the WV11 one?
Oh, thank you for bringing that up. No, not yet.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you exactly what you meant. What did you want?
Let's see. Let me find the video. Okay.
Put that notes right here.
So, let me see if I can find it on archive.org because it'd just be easier that way.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah, I get a lot from the archives. Which video was it again?
It's the WB11 one, or WPIX.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, WB11, WPIX.
I can't remember what it's called. WPIX W1.
Basically, just wanted to see if that blip in between the towers, if the Luma key would work.
Yeah.
Because basically, what should happen is if, let me think, because does Ace Baker use that video?
He mentions it in his Great American Psy-Opera thing in 2012, but he doesn't talk about it in, like, that's really the first time he ever spoke about that video publicly. So I don't know if anyone's actually said that yet, but I always like to, try to prevent something before someone tries to, you know what I'm trying to say. I can't get the words out of my mouth.
I got you. Like, just trying to kind of get it out the way, kind of just cover up all the areas. That's why I was talking to you about people slowing down the videos. Yeah, because that sounds like a stupid argument. I haven't really heard it brought up, but before someone jumps the gun, I'd like to kind of put that aside. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you mean, right? Kind of just get it out the way to show that that's not possible. So.
Yeah.
So we don't get a Steve Dak video in the next couple of days. That, right?
Yeah. Okay, I think it's a WPIX Dub109. Whatever that means, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, Dub109. Okay. Yeah, that's one of the NIST FOIs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you want me to Luma key the background sky?
Yeah, just to see if, like with what Ace Baker says about the supposed nose out in Chopper 5, just if the same, like, yeah, basically if that blip would be Luma keyed out or not.
Because the plane passes in between the towers before it hits the South Tower, right?
Yeah.
And we just want to see if we can see that still with the Luma key, basically.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because like with the supposed nose out thing, like part of that becomes transparent because of the flame.
Yeah.
So.
And the Luma key can't distinguish the brightness of the flame.
Right.
So, but what are we looking for? Because if yeah, so what are we looking for that middle blip though?
Just to see if it would be possible to, like, if you were working with that live shot in, like, I don't know, some video control room, and you tried to edit a plane in so that there'd be a little blip between the towers, just to see if that would work out so perfectly, or if it would, I don't know, glitch somehow.
Ah, that's right, yeah, because you basically want to try to composite in there just enough to perfectly get that blip.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to account for that stabilization or the shakiness of that video. It's not really too shaky though, is it?
No.
Yeah.
Well, the NIST version is like jittering all over the place. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'll see if I can do that. Yeah, that's
okay,
right.
Thanks.
Basically more just debunking the composite theory, which is just so stupid to me. I think there's really one good video that debunks the whole composite theory in general.
Yeah.
Which is the one where, you know, they're looking forward. I forget who I forget the name of who that is. I don't have it right now. I have to look through. But he's looking at the nose of the plane and it's just coming in. Like, that's not a composite video. You know what I'm talking about? They're like on the far. They see the nose of the plane like huge. I forget which video it is. I'll send you the link after we're done with our conversation. I'll send you some of the stuff.
Okay. It might be. Yeah, I don't know which one you're talking about. Huh.
It's from the front though. You get to see the nose and everything. It's not a composite. It's a plane.
Is it the
Weird.
Louis Alonso one?
That sounds.
There's like the Woolworth building is like.
Yeah,
It
kinda
goes
blocking
behind the Woolworth
explosion
building.
a little bit.
Yeah, and then there's like another brown building. The plane disappears behind it, and then there's the fireball.
Yeah. Alonso. Yep.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, that one.
Okay. Yeah.
To me, that video disproves all theories of compositing. That's not a composite.
Yeah.
How do you composite a plane like that? I've never seen anybody do that. I don't think you can. Even in 2018, can you, like, have you ever, I've never seen a composite, like,
Yeah.
and then that's where Steve Dak goes, whoa, CGI,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And the whole, like, dude, CGI, removed bolts, and then, like, 50 missiles, like, what? 20-something missiles? Like, any more, like, yeah, I don't know, man.
Like, I guess it could be realistically possible just so long as you fill all of Manhattan and Brooklyn and New Jersey with actors. I mean, I don't see any other way to do it besides that.
Yeah,
It's
and
just-
that's another thing that Ace didn't add to his little list there. Is that's something else you need for compositing.
Exactly.
You need everybody to go along with your story.
Mhm.
You need a bunch of paid conspirators. I mean, that's just stupid, man.
Yeah. And
So many people, so many high-rise apartment buildings, so many people looking out their window, freaking
Yeah.
out. You can't do it.
and Steve Dak says, like, you know, people probably did see a missile, but they would have just been going so fast it would be a blur, and they would be told on live TV that it was a plane that just hit the building, and the memory would, you know, the news would create the memory for them. Okay, do you think
Yeah.
that's going to work with every single person?
Right.
And another thing that so many...
false memory syndrome thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And another thing that so many video fakery advocates bring up is like, you know, oh, you're repeating the official rumor that there were thousands of witnesses. Well, I've never seen that refuted, so, I mean, it's only logical to think that that many people are going to see that in the middle of such a busy city.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see any reason to think that there were only, you know, like 12 or something.
Yeah, you don't need to quote the official story to say that Lower Manhattan was filled with thousands of people.
Yeah.
All you have to do is watch like any movie or go to Lower Manhattan. Like,
exactly.
Filled with thousands of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the World Trade Center is the 2 largest towers. It was part of the skyline, man. And it's yeah. The video fakery is ridiculous. I can't believe that it's still such a popular thing.
I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Now,
When I
random.
saw the Concerned Grandpa, I was kind of hoping that he didn't really have a theory, because I'm kind of getting tired of like all these crazy theories. There's not one good documentary out there that shows the science or any scientific evidence of holograms or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or if they do talk about holograms, they just show the wing disappearing 20 times or something.
Yep.
And then show more like video fakery pushers promoting no plane, but they cut out the fakery part and hologram. And nobody like has like a good film about it or any like, you know, any real good material on it. And then you got this Concerned Grandpa, and I was like really hoping he just didn't have any theory. I was like, just don't say anything, just be a Concerned Grandpa who wants to know what happened.
Yeah.
And do this test. And I was really hoping that's what it was. And you know, I kind of stayed away from him. I didn't even want to look into him because I didn't want to find out what he was talking about. I didn't want to find out if he was a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he is now, but it just seems weird that, you know, he got, you know, I automatically didn't like the fact that he threw holograms out as a possibility without any evidence.
Yeah.
What the plane hold. Well, you haven't talked about the magnetometer data that's clearly always been there.
His excuse for ignoring the magnetometer data is it's coming from Dr. Judy Wood. That's his excuse. It came from Dr. Judy Wood, therefore it must not be true. And
well, maybe he won't ignore mine then, because I didn't actually take my data that's in the film from her. I took it from like 4 different schools.
Yeah, and you can still go to that website from, I don't know, wherever that magnetometer data came from. You can still go there. It's still up there. You can find it. It's
the one that she references.
Yeah, it's wait.
Yeah,
I think I don't think the link in her book works. But
yeah, I found that data archive on like a couple of places. Same with like all the hurricane information. All that information, you can find it. You have to do a little digging, but just because it came from Dr. Judy Wood. I mean, and that's why people have a real big problem with her.
Yeah. Besides, that's ad hominem anyways. That doesn't. You're not actually refuting anything. You're just saying it came from her, therefore it must not be true. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. It's like, well, you're saying the bolts have been removed, sir, and it's coming from you, so I just don't think it's true.
Yeah.
And I did that automatically. I thought that was stupid. I thought he did it real fast and showed some graphic art showing how these perfect symmetrical things could be bolts being removed with no evidence, and then moved on to his next point.
Yeah.
And it's not holograms, and then let's keep going. And it's like, whoa, okay. Yeah, made me wonder.
Yeah. One of the things that just gets me so angry, honestly, about Steve is when he says, you know, you're relying on some super duper secret hologram technology that you can't prove, and when you have proven that it exists and it has been out there for decades.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't care and won't look into it and just keeps using, you know, his missile junk, whatever.
Yeah, a lot of people have proven that it exists, but they just haven't really documented it. There's things, like I told you, if you look into Project Bluebeam, you know, but it's hard to verify because that was all came from a French guy named Serge Monnes.
Okay.
He spoke French and wrote, and you know, and so it's been like translated, and some of that stuff hasn't been verified, but the UFO phenomenon is pretty verified. Since the 60s, it's been pretty verified. Like, it's a huge thing. And I just recently had an interview with a guy named Norio Hayawaka, I think is his name.
Okay.
Hayawaka, yeah. And he's been researching UFOs for 45 years, since like 1964.
Wow.
He lives in Dulce, New Mexico, which is one of the most highly reported sightings of UFOs in the nation. And he lives there, and there's like a couple of stories. Like, this guy, Gabe Valdez, basically was a state trooper there, and he thinks all the sightings everyone was seeing is holograms. He thinks it's some kind of government facility there that's not being disclosed, that there's like an underground base that they won't talk about, and that they're holograms, you know, practicing for maybe this false flag or whatever it may be, but they're doing it. He was convinced, but he died, and now his son is convinced of the same thing. His son also became a cop, a trooper, you know, he's also in Mexico, and he wrote a book about his dad. And this other guy, the Norio, that I just interviewed, I'll be putting that interview in the film as well.
Okay.
He just kept saying over and over in our interview, you could tell he's an older gentleman, but he's really cool. He just kept saying over and over, this stuff is not science fiction. Mm-hmm. This stuff is not science fiction. He just kept saying it's real. Like, he think the Phoenix Lights event, I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, I don't really know anything about UFOs or any of
You never heard of the Phoenix Lights?
I've probably heard it mentioned, but It
was like 1997, big old giant mothership-sized UFO came over Arizona, actually right where I used to live. And like Bill Clinton, like they supposedly like fled, they evacuated or something. Supposedly, it's like this big story. They made a movie out of it and stuff. Wow. But he's convinced that was a hologram. And
is that the position you take on UFOs?
On the UFO, you know, like, I don't know. I think some of that stuff could be holograms. I don't know what to think. Like I told you, I had my only UFO experience was the Orbs, and they frightened me. And there was a sound, like a boom, that came through the earth afterwards. And there's been a lot in South Mountain, Phoenix, Arizona, with the Phoenix Lights and everything. I didn't want to live there, that's for sure. So I don't know. I don't think they're all holograms. I don't really know if I believe in extraterrestrial. Mm-hmm. Like I've talked to Andrew Johnson. I think his position is that you know, extraterrestrials didn't crash on Roswell, and that technology was back engineered. I think Bob Lazar, who I have on my YouTube, is really honest. I've done a lot of digging into his background, and he seems to have been telling the truth. He talks about element 115, which is and it's all free energy type of technology and propulsion systems and stuff. And there's definitely a big reception management going on with like, you like Blink 182?
Sorry, what?
You ever heard of Blink 182?
No.
Blink 182 is like a punk pop rock band, and one of the guys from there is like famous UFO researcher now, Tom DeLonge, and he goes on like the Joe Rogan show. And we have like a lot of people being part of this UFO thing now, but they're being controlled by like ex or former NSA or ex-CEO of Lockheed Martin, you know, all these weird high up people for a reason. So that tells me that there's something huge behind it. Mm-hmm. That technology ties into the technology used on 9/11. Yeah. So yeah, it is a part of it, but I don't know if I don't really know. I don't really speculate on the UFOs too much because some of that stuff creeps me out.
I know.
Yeah. It really does. I don't know, but I do believe that I do believe they have holographic technology, that it's real, that it's way more advanced than anything we've ever seen in any movie, any Tupac, like the Tupac concert is just Pepper's ghost. That's not a real hologram. I think Steve Dak might have even pointed that out.
He did.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a real hologram. What they have is much more advanced. It does have sound. Obviously strong sound, and I think this is just my theory, and there's not like a whole lot of evidence behind it, but I think that it can be used as more than a psychological weapon. I think that not to say it has like a solid feel to it, but if it's laser or directed energy in some way, it could have the illusion itself could have helped to create the whole. I don't think it can be explained by the Hutchinson effect because of the perfect plane shape. It has to do with, in my opinion, interferometry, which is what Dr. Judy Wood specialized in. Yeah. But it's not just normal. Like there's different types, and it has something to do with photons and directed energy and the magnetic field and the static field and some microwaves and interfering with all of that. And I don't fully understand it. But it definitely, I do believe that it exists. I think there was the use of lasers that day, and that's a big reason why people call her a space beamer and say that she implies that they're beams when she doesn't. because she wrote her first book about, or her first paper on the Star Wars project, which I've done a lot of investigation, and Ronald Reagan made it his goal to put weapons in space, dude. Like he was, I'm convinced that they're there, and that they have weather control modification, space-based weapons, and all of that, all of the above, and that's what all of this is about, to keep covering that up. All of the video fakery, demolition, the official story, all of it, all of the nonsense we hear is all to keep that technology away from us. And I kind of want to know why. Like, why are we not allowed to have this knowledge that they have?
Yeah.
Because they want to do evil and we want to do good, I guess. It's weird.
Yeah, my audio is coming. I can hear myself talk. That is really weird.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Let's see. How about now?
I think that's good. I can hear yeah, it's still there a little bit.
Oh, I hear myself too. Do we have a third party? That's weird.
Huh.
Cool. Okay. Well, hey, you want to just you want to wrap it up and take some notes and schedule part 2?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
what?
Let's do that.
Do you want to just do that through the Google Hangouts thing, or?
What's today? Today's Saturday. When are you available?
I could probably do one. Oh gosh. Probably next weekend at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, that works. Sometime around this time is cool with me if you want to do next weekend. Just, shoot me the time, I'll throw it in my calendar. And we can chat on Hangouts until then if you want, if there's any more information and stuff. I'll probably send you like some updates and stuff.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and if you throw any more videos, I'm subscribed and I got notifications, so
Okay.
I'm on there and drop you a like and comment, share, and whatnot. I'm trying to document a lot of the research you did on there, because I think you did a pretty good job.
Thanks.
Yeah, you did a pretty good job. You should send me that graph as well, and
I will do that right now.
If you can, also, what were we talking in the beginning? You told me a name.
Carol S. Wills.
Yeah, that, and something else. Contact information for somebody who said the word hologram.
Wait, no. There was a random other videographer, Brian Gately. I think I sent you his phone number.
Okay, cool.
Let's see, what did I send? There's, Brian Gately, Chris Hopewell, and Ace Baker.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for that. That's cool.